Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counterspy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, starring somebody whom you don't consider someone who would do something suspenseful. It's our friend Parley Baer, Chester on Gunsmoke. He stars in a November 22nd, 1955 edition of Suspense, the show titled Classified Secret.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a story of a cross-country bus and the safety of a nation that rode in it. We call it Classified Secret. So now, starring Parley Baer, here is tonight's suspense play, Classified Secret.
Nice day.
Yes.
Kids sure know it's getting on to Christmas. Look at them.
I've been watching them.
Yeah. Kind of glad, though, I haven't got any.
Oh?
Well, you know, world conditions, things the way they are. Who wants to bring a kid into it?
I suppose so. Do you have a match?
Oh, sure. Here you are.
Thanks. Have you got it? What's the matter?
Oh, you don't look the type. I almost hoped you weren't.
Have you got it?
With me? No. But I'll take you to where it is.
All right. The money's in 10s, 20s, and 50s.
In the sack with the groceries?
Yes, I thought it would be safer that way.
Yeah, I guess so. How much?
10,000.
10.
Well, that's what you agreed to.
Mm-mm. I said 20.
I was told 10.
They made a mistake then, didn't they? Sorry.
Say, what are you trying to do?
Nothing. Not a thing.
I was told you were with us.
I am. But I get paid for it, too, don't you?
Well, I can't sit here any longer. We might be watched. Will you please give me...
Sorry, it was a misunderstanding.
But...
Unless you want to take me to the head man. Maybe he can straighten it out.
I haven't got any instructions for that. How can I reach you?
Well, as of about 2 hours from now, you can't. I'm leaving town.
Will you give us 24 hours? It'll take that long.
I'm sorry. If you can't pay what I want, there's somebody else who will.
I'm going.
Okay. So long. I was sitting on a bench in a little park in North Hollywood, California. The late fall sun was warm, and for a change, there wasn't any smog in the air. I watched the woman I'd never seen before walk off down the path. She was headed for the avenue and some cars parked beyond the trees. I thought how nice it would have been if she were just a woman in the park. Nothing else. I waited until she was out of sight, then I got up and walked away in the opposite direction. I got the bus at the Hollywood station. I had a train ticket in my pocket, but with the new development, it looked safer to ride the bus. Just before we pulled out, a girl climbed aboard and came down the aisle looking for a seat.
Excuse me, is this number...
18.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, let me put your case up.
Oh, thank you. I was afraid I was going to miss it.
Yeah, I know how it is. settled back and watched the city drift away into desert country. As buses go, it was pretty quiet. There was a 6 or 7 year old kid with his mother a couple of seats forward, but he dozed off almost as soon as we got running. I took a look at the girl sitting next to me. Oh, not in the way you might think, but because in my business you get to learn to look at people. You never know who it might be. She must have felt me watching, and she lowered the magazine she was reading.
Would you care to look at one of these?
Oh, well, that's nice of you. I always forget to buy them.
This one's a mystery. I don't usually read them, but on a long trip they kind of pass the time away.
Yeah, they do. How far are you going?
New York.
Oh, that is a long trip, all right.
I'll say. I haven't been back for 10 years. But it's changed.
I guess so. I read the mystery well into Arizona, and when I finished, it was beginning to get dark. The kid up ahead was awake and hungry. There was a feeling of expectation on the bus as we drove into the first night of travel.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. It was fine. Thanks a lot.
What was it about?
Spies. They're real exciting.
I like spy movies sometimes. But I think they do so many of them. You read about it in the papers all the time. I don't know, you'd think people would get sick of it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
They're exciting, like you say. But I bet it isn't really like that.
Yeah, I doubt. Oh, say, my name's Charlie. Charlie Rader.
Oh, how do you do? I'm Julie Spaulding.
Hi.
That kid sounds as hungry as I am.
Yeah. We ought to be stopping soon.
I hope so.
About 15 minutes later, we pulled up at a restaurant terminal and went in for food. I watched for any new passengers who might be getting on. I didn't see anybody, and as soon as I'd finished my sandwich and coffee, I sent a telegram to New York, then got back on the bus. The girl, Julie, and I seemed to be hitting it off, and it was pleasant enough to pass the time. After we got rolling, the kid up ahead decided to sing himself to sleep. It was like a crooning over and over again, the same song, the same few notes. I guess it put everybody else to sleep except him.
Makes you sleepy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Reminds me of when I was a kid. I used to do that. Kids are funny.
How?
I don't know. I'm going back to New York for my sister's wedding. She's getting married next week. She says she wants lots of kids. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Mind if I ask you something?
I don't mind what.
Are you married?
No.
I don't mean it the way it sounds. I'm always interested in trying to guess about people. Now, I would have figured you were a married man with maybe 2 or 3 kids.
No, I'm not married.
I hope you don't think I'm nosy.
Oh, no.
Well, that kid singing fixed me. I'm gonna take a nap. Good night, Charlie.
Good night. I must have dropped off too. And when I woke up, she had her head on my shoulder. A lock of her hair was falling over her closed eyes. And then I knew something was different on the bus. Somebody on the other side of the aisle, watching.
Excuse me, mister. Have you got a match? I'm clean out.
Oh, sure. Just a minute. Here.
Thank you.
No, keep them.
Oh, fine. Thanks a lot.
Hey, you got any idea where we are?
No, I'm not sure. I got on at Flagstaff an hour or so back. Oh, boy, I envy her. Wish I could sleep like that. That's your wife?
No.
Oh. Say, that's rude. But taking your matches and not offering you a cigarette.
That's okay. I don't want one now, thanks.
Say, I want to tell you something.
Oh?
There's a lady in the seat behind you. I think you've met her before in the park. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We brought her with us to identify you. But she gave us a pretty good description back in L.A.
Good for her.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a nice trip. Nothing like traveling with people you know, is there?
Oh, nothing like it.
Don't suppose you've got any reading material you could let me look at?
How about a mystery? It's a spy story. Pretty good.
No, I was thinking something else. I think, something more, say, scientific. I'm very interested in airplanes. Jet motors.
Sorry. He looked across at me, smiling, pleasant. And to anybody watching, it was nothing more than the casual conversation of two strangers brought together by the night and sympathy of loneliness. Then he leaned back, and reaching inside his jacket, brought out a small automatic, which he kept very carefully hidden from any eyes but mine.
I always carry this with me on a trip. You never know.
Oh, I knew all right. If they couldn't buy what they wanted, there were other ways. That's what he was telling me. And I saw in the man's smiling face that I'd never reach New York unless I killed them before they killed me.
You're listening to Classified Secret, tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Yep, that was Howard McNear along with Parley Baer. Classified Secret, an episode of Suspense, November 22nd, 1955, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of Suspense and Classified Secret, starring Parley Baer, November 22nd, 1955.
And now, we bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Parley Baer, starring in tonight's production, Classified Secret, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Julie and I had breakfast somewhere in New Mexico. The woman from the park and the man who carried the small automatic sat in a booth while we ate at the counter. I'd thought about things most of the night, and I decided to tell the girl, not too much, but enough so that she might be able to help. And I knew I'd need some help.
Coffee's pretty good here.
Yeah. Cigarettes?
No, thanks.
I'd like another cup. Julie.
Yes?
I want to tell you something.
Oh?
Now, I don't want you to turn around and look. Just pretend we're talking about the weather, the coffee, anything. But listen.
Well, sure, Charlie.
There's a couple sitting in the booth behind us. They're spies.
Oh, you.
I'm not kidding. I can't tell you much, but as you love your life, you will believe me.
Oh, you're kidding. Spy?
Don't turn around. Smile and just listen.
But
They're trying to get hold of the plans for a new jet motor. It's faster than anything anybody else has got.
You are kidding.
No, I'm not.
How do you know? Well, how do you know about it?
I'm working for the government.
FBI?
Well, in a way. But now I need you to help me.
Me?
They think I've got the blueprints, the plans, and they're going to try and get them from me.
But can't we get the police?
No.
Well, but why?
Because we're trying to get the head man. And if those two are arrested, we'll have to start all over again. They think I'm working with them. But I got tough about the money they offered, so now they're going to try and get rid of me and get the secret for nothing.
Did they follow you from L.A.?
Yeah, they got on during the night in Flagstaff.
All right, folks, let's go.
Well, I don't see... Well, what can I do?
Just stick with me. I'll explain at the next stop. We can't talk about it on the bus because she's sitting right behind and he's across the aisle.
Listen, are you pulling my...
Hurry.
No. No, you're not, are you?
I'm not. We went on through New Mexico and the Pink Rock and desert. We talked a lot of nonsense, and after a while, I could see she was getting back to the idea that I'd been kidding, especially after the man with the gun introduced himself as Mr. Hutchinson and started to talk about fishing. It was about half an hour before our lunch stop.
Now, you take some of that Northern California country. So you talk about trout and steelhead. Oh, boy, I tell you.
My dad used to take us up, my sister and me. He'd take us up to a place in Maine.
Oh, gee.
Dad always wanted a couple of boys, I guess. When he saw what he got, well, he figured it wouldn't spoil his plans anyway, so he took us fishing every summer. You should have seen the fishing up there.
Oh, I'd like to someday. Yeah, I'd like that. How about you, Mr. Rader? You like fishing?
No, not much.
Ever try it?
A little, when I was a kid.
You ought to take it up again, if you have time.
Well, I might do that.
You know, if a man had a little money put away, he could do a lot of fishing. Oh, boy, that's the way to live. Have about, say, $10,000. Go all over the country, fishing, no work, no worries. How's that sound, Miss Spaulding?
What a life.
It would take more than 10,000.
Oh, I don't know. 10's better than nothing. Say, did you ever look at the road?
They went on talking, and I did some thinking. He was smarter than I'd thought. Looked like a nice, average guy and behaved like one. That's one thing I'd learned. The more ordinary you can be, the less you're going to be suspected. And these people had it down to a science. It wasn't going to be easy because I was going to have to convince Julie all over again. I could see that. My chance didn't come until that evening after our dinner stop. By that time, the woman in the park, who went by the name of Lisa Nyland, Hutchinson, the girl, and myself, all four of us were buddies. We'd pulled up over the Colorado border. There was some kind of trouble up ahead, a slide or a wreck. And the driver told us we'd have half an hour or so before we went on.
You want to take a walk for a while? There's a cafe a couple of 100 yards back. I'll give you a call when we're ready to move on.
Here, watch your step, Julie.
Oh, thanks.
We're going to be here.
Oh, well, gee. Oh, kind of nice to have an extra leg stretch at that. How about some coffee?
Oh, that'd be nice. Charlie?
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to have a look at the valley down there. We might walk up the dirt road away, get a pretty good view, the sunset and all.
Oh, you're romantic, eh?
Sure, why not?
Oh, Charlie.
Okay with you, Lisa? You feel romantic? Want to see a valley and the sunset?
That'd be very nice.
Okay, then let's go. Now, girls, wait a minute. Now, be careful. There's snakes.
We walked away from the bus and up a narrow ranch road. About 100 yards up, there was a curve, and around it a stand of trees. And when we got there, you couldn't hear the sounds from the highway any longer. It was peaceful, and it was very pretty. I knew that Hutchinson was delighted about the suggestion. It was going to give him his chance. But he made the mistake of playing it a little too clever. Kept his game of small talk going a minute too long. We'd got to the top of a cliff overlooking the valley when I stumbled on a rock and fell a few steps behind before they had a chance to stop. And when they did, I already had my gun out.
Hey, what are you going to do? Target practice?
No. You two stay where you are and keep your hands behind your head. Julie, get over here.
Charlie, are you sure? They seem...
I know what they seem. Now, look, I don't want to do this, but it's you or me. You should have made the right deal in the first place. I can't let you go, you know that.
We might still make a deal.
You had your chance.
We've got the 10,000. Now, how about waiting until we get to the next town? We'll have the rest of it telegraphed out.
I make mistakes, but not that kind.
If you told us what you wanted, we might have been able to get the 20,000 for you in Los Angeles.
Turn around, both of you.
Oh, wait a minute. We're all in this together. We all want the same thing. You figure you can get more money from the people in the East. Okay, give us a chance to get it for you. We're in contact with him.
Turn around.
Well,
November 22nd, 1955, Suspense. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion of Suspense, and yours truly, Johnny Dollar, follows these important messages. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now the conclusion of Suspense. Classified Secret, November 22nd, 1955.
they give us our orders. What difference does it make? Look, you shoot us. What do you think they'll do? They won't let you get away with that. They'll kill you.
Charlie, you can't just shoot them. Turn them over to the police. You can't just shoot them.
Be quiet.
He can't tell the police, Julie. He's with us. Only he wants money out of it. And he thinks he'll get more from the head man in the east.
Turn around, and I'm not going to say it again.
Charlie, don't. I know you've got a duty, but you can arrest them, please. You could still.
I told you to be quiet.
Arrest? Arrest? Listen, Ray, dear. You're not going to... Oh, you're not going to kill us over 10,000? Boy, that's murder. Even if... Oh.
Miss Nyland dropped instantly. Hutchinson held his middle for a second and tried to keep his balance. I shot him in the back of the head. I knew he was dead before his body slipped to the ground. The girl just stood next to me, her hands tightly covering her mouth, and she was shivering. I took a look out across the wide valley. The sky was turning purple.
I've never seen anybody killed before.
I'm sorry.
Couldn't you have arrested them or something? Couldn't you? Did you have to?
I had to. They wouldn't have stopped at killing both of us if they'd had the chance.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do now?
I've got to get the money for evidence.
What are you going to tell the driver? He'll ask where they are. Charlie? Driver's going to wonder where they are. Charlie, what are you doing?
I've got to put him over the cliff.
Oh, no. No.
I've got to.
Oh. No, you can't, Charlie, not her. No.
All right, come on. We got back to the bus. Neither of us said anything about the two we'd walked off with. I guess nobody had seen us together, and after waiting around for another half hour, the driver gave up.
I'll drop that baggage in La Junta. Better notify the police, too.
It's screwy, all right.
Okay, folks, sorry for the delay. You better go back to your seat, mister.
Sure. I was starved when we pulled into the depot at La Junta. I'd already made up my mind to lay over and take a detour on another bus. The girl wasn't going to be able to keep quiet much longer, and I had to get rid of her. We got out of the bus, and two men were standing alongside waiting.
Just a minute, please. We're special agents for the FBI. Search them, Larry.
Just gun and money.
Where are the other two?
The other two?
They're dead. He killed them.
Oh. We'll take those plans now, Mr. Rader, and don't do anything silly. There are 4 more men covering you.
Okay. It's in my shoe. You want me to take it off now?
Please.
All right. I've got terrible balance. Mind if I lean on you?
No.
Thank you. Here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Rader. This isn't worth anything, really, you know. We planted it in the factory in L.A. for someone to steal. What we wanted was to be led to the top man in New York, and when you sent that wire to him from Arizona, we got him.
Oh?
We were worried about you, Julie, when you didn't call us from Albuquerque.
I didn't get a chance. He was with me all the time.
Is she... Oh, my. Is she... Are you playing spy, too, Julie?
I'm working for the government, Mr. Rader.
She's been following you since you stole the plans.
Well, you fooled me. I'll bet you fooled Hutchinson and Nyland, too. It won't matter to them, though, will it? Well, that's the way it goes.
Take him away, will you? I had to watch him murder those two. I don't want to hear him laugh about it.
Come on, Rader. We've got a car waiting.
Sure. So long, Julie. Nice to have met you.
Suspense, in which Parley Baer starred in tonight's presentation of Classified Secret. Be sure to listen next week for another presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Anthony Ellis, who also wrote tonight's script. The music was composed by Lee Stevens and Lucian Morwick and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Featured in the cast were Virginia Eiler, Charlotte Lawrence, Richard Beals, Howard McNear, Charles Seal, and Jim Nasser.
November 22nd, 1955, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we have part 2 of the 5-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Amy Bradshaw Matter. This episode of the program originally broadcast November 22nd, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Al Cintella down at precinct headquarters, Johnny.
Oh, hi, Al.
Sorry I missed your call a few minutes ago. What's on your mind?
An actress named Amy Bradshaw.
Amy? One of my favorites.
Me too. But right now I seem to be looking for a guy who doesn't feel that way about her.
Huh?
Al, it looks like somebody's trying to kill Amy Bradshaw.
Better come down here and tell me all about
it. Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, New York City. To the Northwestern Indemnity Alliance, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Amy Bradshaw matter. The threat of an attempt on her well-insured life. Expense account item 5, $1.75. Cab from my hotel to precinct headquarters to talk to Detective Lieutenant Al Cintella. Al looked about the same as the last time I'd seen him. Rugged, competent, maybe a few pounds heavier.
Sit down, Johnny, sit down.
Thanks.
Something about Amy Bradshaw, you said.
Yeah.
Didn't know you were a friend of hers.
Northwestern Indemnity holds a $25,000 life insurance policy on her. Here, take a look at this note. Amy got it several days ago.
You are evil. You will be punished by sudden death. Oh, come on now, Johnny.
A couple of nights ago, after the show, somebody shoved Amy off the curb and out into the traffic over in Times Square.
Well, the same thing happens to me almost every time I'm around Times Square. You know what I smell in all this?
Oh, sure. You probably smell a publicity stunt.
I sure do.
You think I'd fall for a thing like that?
You known Amy Bradshaw very long?
No. I'd seen her in a few shows, but last night was the first time I'd ever met her in person.
If I didn't know you pretty well, I'd say you might be getting a little stage struck on her.
Uh-huh. What about the man who trailed Amy to her apartment last night?
Oh? Who?
I don't know. I chased him, but he had too much of a lead on me.
I still wouldn't go jumping to any conclusions. Who you got to work on, for instance?
Well, for one, David Coleman, her director. Then there's the producer, Emery Taylor, and his wife, Dora. From what Amy said, I gather Dora doesn't like her very well.
Anybody else?
And there's her agent, Mike Pomeroy. She seems to be pretty wrapped up in him.
Whole stable full, huh?
Yeah, looks like it. Also, a fellow named Porter Kane, who's usually hanging around the theater waiting for Amy. And finally, the man I really came to talk to you about.
Who's that?
Name is Bill York, her husband, but they're separated.
Oh?
She doesn't know where he is.
You figure he might tie in somehow?
He is the beneficiary of Amy's insurance policy.
Well, I'll see if I can turn up an address on him for you.
Okay, thanks, Al. In the meantime, I think I'll pay a call on this Porter Kane. See if I can find out just how good a fan he is. Expense account item 6, 225. Cab to the apartment of Porter Kane in the East 70s. It was an expensive-looking place. I got there about noon, but Porter Kane was just finishing breakfast, accompanied by Chopin.
May I offer you a cup of coffee, Mr. Dollar?
Oh, thanks. A blind, please.
Yes. Now, you came to see me about Amy Bradshaw, I believe.
That's right, Mr. Kane. I represent Northwestern Indemnity Alliance. They hold a policy on Miss Bradshaw.
You perhaps want some sort of character reference on her?
You, might put it that way.
Well, in that case, you couldn't have come to one better qualified than I. You see, Amy is my career at present.
Afraid I don't understand, Mr. Kane.
Well, some years ago, I was relieved of the sordid but customarily necessary task of working for my bread and butter. The result is that I've been able to devote myself to a fascinating hobby.
What kind of a hobby?
I collect things.
Oh?
The objects of my interest vary, but they all have one thing in common.
Oh?
This signet ring I'm wearing, for instance.
Yes, I noticed it. Very unusual.
The crest is that of the Medici family, Renaissance Italy. The only ring of its kind in the world, so far as any of the authorities on that period are aware. That vase on the table, the painting on the wall, that sculpture.
One of a kind, huh?
Precisely. Which brings us quite logically to Amy, who is clearly one of a kind.
So?
So I plan to add Amy to my collection.
Just like that, huh?
I'm certain Amy will see it my way in time. And I have time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must dress for the matinee. Will I see you again, Mr. Dollar?
Yes. You probably will, Mr. Kane. I was glad to get out of the hothouse atmosphere of Kane's apartment. Real weird, this character. And I had a hunch I'd better keep an eye on him. Item 7, $1.65. Cab fare that evening to the Criterion Theater. I arrived half an hour before curtain time and headed for Amy's dressing room. Then, as I approached her door...
You listen real careful. I'll give it to you once again. You've been tossing wrong cues to Sheila for 3 nights now. You've been doing everything you can to upstage her and make her look bad.
Mike, it's just that I've been nervous lately. Maybe I have made a few mistakes in my life.
Amy, you know I've got plans for Sheila, and I don't want her looking bad in this play.
You've got plans for Sheila. What about us?
Amy, we can talk about that some other time. But for now, I just want you to understand. You're to lay off Sheila. I mean it.
Is that a threat, Mike?
Take it any way you like.
It sounded like Pomeroy was coming outside, so I ducked around behind a piece of scenery and waited a moment. Then I went back to Amy's door.
Oh, Johnny.
Hello, Amy. You look tired.
I am. I just had a little go-around with Mike.
Pomeroy?
Uh-huh. I've been fluffing some of my lines lately. He seems to think I've been doing it deliberately to make Sheila Mitchell look bad. But he's wrong. Have you found out anything yet, Johnny?
No, not much.
I still can't believe there's anything to it. It's so silly to let it upset me. Silly even to give it a thought.
Well, try not to, Amy. Let me worry about it.
All right. Did I ever tell you it's nice having you around, Johnny?
I left her dressing room and started for the alley door, but somebody stepped out in front of me. It was Mike Pomeroy.
Hello, Dollar.
Oh, hi, Pomeroy.
I was just talking to Dave Coleman, the director. He told me he was the one who sent for you. He told me why.
You didn't know about the threatening letter Amy got?
No, I didn't. Look, Dollar, every actress I've ever known has gotten at least one note like that during her career.
You don't think this should be taken too seriously, then?
No. Amy's pretty nervous these days, and as long as you're around stirring things up, she'll be worried about it. If there's anything to be done about it, I can handle it.
In other words, you want me to mind my own business, that it?
You said that, Dollar. I didn't. It might not be a bad idea.
Funny thing, when somebody tells me to lay off a case, my interest in it always doubles. After the final curtain, I went backstage to wait for Amy. The stage door was open, and I could see Porter Kane waiting in the alley outside. So I went over to him.
Well, Mr. Dollar, good evening.
Hello, Kane. On duty again tonight?
Perhaps that's one way of putting it. I thought I might have a little chat with Amy after she's changed.
I'm afraid she has a date.
Oh? Do you happen to know with whom?
Yeah, me.
Mr. Dollar, are you suggesting that I'm to regard you as some sort of rival?
Not at all, Kane. I'm just suggesting that I'm a friend of Amy's.
I see. Good night, Mr. Dollar.
After Kane left, I stood beside the stage door and tried to figure out some of the angles on this case. There were too many of them. By the time I went in, the theater was dark, except for a dim light bulb over the stage, and everyone had gone. Everybody, that is, except Amy. I ran into the darkened theater. She was standing horrified next to the stairway by the dressing rooms, her eyes fixed on something that lay on the floor.
Johnny, I was on my way out to meet you. I heard a swish through the air. This heavy sandbag, it barely missed me. Oh, Johnny!
Stay back against the wall, Amy. You'll be okay there. I climbed the long ladder up to the catwalk above the stage where they sometimes use the sandbags to balance hunks of scenery. It was dark up there. I started edging along the catwalk. Suddenly, my foot hit a loose board. I almost lost my balance. A loose board that could have been left for me. And it was a long, long drop down to the stage. Whoever had been up there knew the theater pretty well. Finally, I went back down to Amy. She was trembling.
Johnny?
It's okay, Amy. It's okay.
Johnny? Maybe I didn't take it seriously before, but I do now. Somebody dropped that sandbag from up there deliberately. Somebody is trying to kill me, and I'm scared, Johnny. I'm scared.
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's episode of the Amy Bradshaw Matter.
Tomorrow, a man steps onto the stage from out of the past and into a role he doesn't want to play. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Robert Reif, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
November 22nd, 1955. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chief hope of our enemies is to divide the United States along racial and religious lines and thereby conquer us. Let's not spread prejudice. A divided America is a weak America. Through our behavior, we encourage the respect of our children and make them better neighbors to all races and religions. Remind them that being good neighbors has helped make our country great and kept her free. Thank you.
This is Debbie Reynolds. If you've been wondering what you can do to fight communism personally from your own home, there is something you can do. Support Radio Free Europe, the station built and financed by the contributions of the American public to the crusade for freedom. Radio Free Europe is one Cold War operation the communists fear and attack constantly. Support Radio Free Europe. Send your truth dollars to Crusade for Freedom, care of your local postmaster.
And by all means, visit my friend Ted over at radiomemories.com. That's radiomemories.com. Ted can find shows for you and has a whole bunch of shows newly restored to near pristine condition. And you can find stuff on cassette, CD, or flash drive for your computer at very, very reasonable prices. That's radiomemories.com. Radiomemories.com. And by the way, visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand. You can see a list of places where our shows can be downloaded. You can find our social media links. You can learn to build a classic radio collection of your very own. You can contact me, and if you'd like to help us build a classic radio collection of very good quality and also to bring you additional shows, if you'd like to help us expand the reach of our program, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money goes specifically toward acquiring classic radio collections and helping us expand our classic radio theater family. Thanks so much for making us a part of your day. That's, by the way, at classicradio.stream. Have a great day. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.